closed doors, or even behind iron walls, to feel the need to be set free. You want to liberate your mind, controlling secrets, yet you will find the need to be set free. And the Lord says, captives be free, just come to me. I'll break those chains that hold you down.
Hi everybody, welcome to Heroes of Hope. We're so glad that you tuned in with us once again. You know, the show has been designed to bring to you all kinds of different organizations and hospital affiliates, and then also public officials and testimonies of people that are dealing with this drug epidemic here in Staten Island. And today we have heroes with us, and we've been praying over them, and each and every day we love having them. We love having a relationship with them, and today is an exciting day for me. So I want to encourage you to stay tuned in with us, because you're going to hear some good stuff, but then also at the end you're going to need to get your pen and a piece of paper, because you're going to have a whole lot of information that's going to come up on the screen for you to sign or for you to write down, so that you can have as resources for those that you love and those that you know, your neighbors and friends, that you can provide for them to help them with whatever issues they're dealing with, okay? Well, the first thing we want to do is welcome our guest today, and our guest is Officer Luis.
Hi,
how are you? And Lieutenant, my buddy.
How are you, sir?
And we're so glad to have them, but I know the first thing you're going to want to know is a little more about them. So we're going to just make it personal a little bit. They are the NYPD, but they are our friends and our brothers and sisters. So we're just going to ask first, you know, if you could share with us a little bit about yourself.
I was a teacher prior to joining the NYPD. I've been an officer for 15 and a half years. I am a resident of Staten Island, and I'm a mom. I'm a single mom of two twins that are teenagers.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And you, Lieutenant?
Not a native Staten Islander, moved here about 11 years ago. I've been in the police department for almost 17 years. I'm glad to be working here in Staten Island, close to home. And I have 3 children, and some of them, young, but it's, as we would discuss a little further, it's a good time to start talking to them about drugs and problems. So it's a problem that faces everybody.
Yeah, absolutely true. You know, from the inner city of Staten Island to, let's say, Toad Hill and Tottenville, it's literally run rampant in different areas of Staten Island. And we're excited about being able to work together and do what we can do to make a difference. But I also know that you work within the community, really close with the community. Can you share with us a little bit about what actually happens? I know that, you know, there's certain protocol and respect in the sense of what we can share and what we can't. But the reality is that there's things that you do that are very important for the viewers to hear about, like the knock-on trainings and things like that. Can you share some of those things with us?
All the police officers in Staten Island are trained in the use of naloxone, and unfortunately it's not one of those trainings that maybe you use one day. It is training that we do use every day, and we've used it. All of us have used it numerous times. I myself have used it 13 times myself, and that's not counting from all the other first responders and the other agencies that do use it as well. So it's something that, it's a tool that we're equipped with, and we're very grateful to have that tool, and it is something that we use, and we use it a lot.
You know, what is it like, if I can ask, what is it like to see, you know, you see someone that's, you know, dying and overdosing and whatnot, and then all of a sudden you come and you use this product, this treatment, and you see them come back. What does that feel like?
It's exhausting. it is, it's hard. It's hard. As much as if you want to say that it's rewarding, it's sad at the same time, because the outcome as to why that you had to use it, and it's a big responsibility. It's a big feat that you're doing, and it may work and it may not work, and it's you. That's it. It's you, and that's it until you can get some help from, call for some more help.
Awesome.
If I may chime in a little on this,
Yeah.
Our officers, we started a pilot in January 2014 in the 120 precinct. Within the first couple of months, there was 4 uses and all 4 saves. So they were brought back, I would like to say, from possible death. The officers, I think, I think it's rewarding for the officer to have that feeling of being able to be a part of something like that, to save a life. So we quickly expanded the program, the naloxone program, to all the precincts and all the officers to carry the naloxone spray. So since 2014, the naloxone spray was used 95 times, and out of the 95, 90 times it was a save, a life was saved. So it is rewarding for the officers, and I understand what Officer SanFilippo is saying. It's sad because she's, as a mother and seeing what families might be going through, that this person could have died. It is rewarding, and I like to say that the officers have a whole new sense of the problem we have on Staten Island. I mean,
I definitely agree with you. Being a native Staten Islander, it's like the lieutenant and myself, 11 years ago, he moved here. Me, I think it was about 12 and a half years ago.
I'm
that
not a
I
native.
moved here.
I
Oh,
moved
you're
here
not?
20 years ago. I'm from Queens.
You're here for 20 years?
Correct.
Okay. Being here for the length of time that we've been here, what are your thoughts about the epidemic, as not so much as an officer, but as a mom? You know what I mean?
As a mom, as a neighbor, as a friend, it's something that affects everyone. And it's not something that you can say, it's not my problem. It really is everyone's problem, because it doesn't have any boundaries. So it's going to be something that if you have children at home, it's a conversation you need to have, because it isn't a matter of, is it something they're going to come in contact with? Yes, they are, and it's inevitable. So it is something that does affect each and every one of us on this island, that no one is insulated from it, no matter where you live.
Yeah. No matter how much people want to think that, or parents want
Correct.
to think that, not my child.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter of,
There's
it's
no-
wishful thinking, but that's not reality.
there's no
Correct.
cultural background, no particular area. It affects everyone, every walk of life, every income class, if you want to say it. But it affects everybody on Staten Island.
Yeah,
One
there's
way.
even good people that are actually getting injured, let's say on the job or anything like that, and then they receive some painkillers, and they find themselves going to
In that
treatment
position,
because
correct.
now they're addicted to the drugs. And these are bankers, police officers,
Mm-hmm.
firemen, good, people that have had 20 years, 25-year careers, and they're addicted to drugs. And they're not the guy standing on the corner, trying to make a couple of bucks. That's, has a crime, long list of crime and things like that. These are career-oriented people that are addicted to drugs also. So
Well, I think
it's
that
everybody.
was the perception maybe a long time ago. But now it has to come out to the forefront that shame has to go away, that the drugs are so powerful and they can affect anyone, and they are affecting everyone.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you're gonna hide and say, oh, no, that was those kind of, those people back then. It's not. It's here, it's now, it's in our community, and it's with our children.
I'm glad you're saying that. Shame, the shame has to go away, because the reality is, you got the shame is either being in denial and making believe it don't exist, and then the other side of it coming knocking on your door, and then the shame of not wanting no one to know,
Correct.
and then the shame of it actually going full force, and everybody knows that your family's involved with the situation. So we need to confront it, proactively, right? We gotta hit this thing
Right.
up front. So a lot of times parents don't do that. And I think that now, when it comes to the public school system and the way everybody's been working together, it's been a really big impact in the lives of children, especially in the way they see the NYPD.
Correct.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a couple of other questions. Well, let me ask you this. What on your end, I know she's working with the community and stuff like that, and I know you're over community affairs and stuff. What do you see in reference to anything else that can be discussed today in reference to what you see concerning touching this drug epidemic through the NYPD or anything like that?
Well, from the community affairs point of view, I'm glad we have so many partners. I mean, if you look at TISA, for an example, that brings in all the providers and city agencies to discuss the problem. And then we have great elected officials who recognize the problem and work closely with us, from the borough president to the district attorney's office, who helped us implement some of the programs we're going to discuss here today. So from a community affairs perspective, that's why I'm here today, right? So the more awareness we have out, the more we could talk about this. The shame, like she said, that should not be an issue anymore. And police officers are recognizing the problem a lot better. Mm-hmm. So you could now on Staten Island, given the so many programs, which we'll discuss a little further, there's so many programs that we have implemented that most of our officers are aware or actively participating in, makes every officer on Staten Island a community affairs officer, because they're able to share this information with the public to get them the help they need. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Too Good for Drugs program. We're going to talk about the district attorney's HOPE program. All of our officers are aware of it. As a matter of fact, next week we have 24 new officers who are coming to Staten Island.
Awesome.
We have our orientation, and we've done numerous orientations, and a big part of that orientation is discussing this problem, making them aware of it, having representatives speak to them, like the district attorney's office, the borough president's office, and then officers like SanFilippo, who have experienced every part of the programs that our chief, thank God, Chief Delatorre, had this vision and know-how to say, this is a problem we have on Staten Island, let's do something about it. And he got all the help he can get, right? So he reached out, and everybody reached out together, obviously, and the community has been great. I think on Staten Island we have an amazing relationship with the community, with the elected officials, with
even the churches.
The churches,
Yeah,
absolutely. I
absolutely.
mean, you yourself at so many meetings
We
been at.
love you guys.
You guys are
definitely.
amazing. So thank God we have people like yourself to even bring this out, and the awareness, the education is key.
Well, like you said, we're getting hit from every angle with this, and it doesn't skip over the church, doesn't skip over the body of Christ here in Staten Island. And so from priests to pastors and rabbis and imams, we've been all experiencing the fact that there are people in our churches that are having young people or their spouse that are addicted to drugs. And so here we go as pastors, bringing our spiritual perspective and being able to share our faith with them in reference to how they can deal with it, and realizing that we have a piece of the puzzle, and we all have a piece. So it's an incomplete puzzle if we're not all bringing our pieces to the table. And I think that's really attractive, you know what I mean, to see what is happening here on Staten Island. I'd even go as far as to say, maybe you can elaborate on it before we get into those other programs that you guys were just talking about. I feel a sense of, with all the meetings we go to and stuff, I feel a sense of that Staten Island has become a pace setter, a trailblazer, meaning that there's such a unity that's taking place on Staten Island that I've heard in certain meetings, even with the public officials, make statements like, we don't see this everywhere, but we see this here in Staten Island. And, I boast over that only because hearing certain organizations say that Staten Island is heroin island, and then seeing statistics, which we're not talking about, but we see statistics that put us in a place where we're leading in certain categories. That's not something we can boast about. You know what I'm saying? I'm not proud of that. But we are proud of being able to step up and lock in and do what we need to do. And so I boast about how we work together in every field across Staten Island and put aside our differences to do what we gotta do, like we did with Sandy, with Hurricane Sandy. And we're able to do the same thing now with this drug epidemic that's taking place. What are some of those programs, you know, if you can give us some more information in detail, if you can, in reference to these programs that are initiated and things that the people would need to know about?
I would actually like, before, I would want her to talk a little more about the Too Good for Drugs program.
Absolutely.
But I want to show the steps that we took here on Staten Island. We started in 2014 with the naloxone program, saving lives, pretty much. We moved into an awareness campaign, the 24-hour drop box. So no questions asked, unwanted or expired prescription pills, check your medicine cabinets, come in and drop it off at a precinct anytime. Now, we didn't think initially that this was going to be as successful as it was.
I
We just
heard
thought
about it, yeah.
we would be able to put it out there and people could feel free and more comfortable to come
And
into a precinct.
and it'll trickle in.
It starts a discussion, right? So now families are talking about it. This is no good. We're going to go drop it off at the precinct. But it has been a huge success. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I think over 50 fills. So each box at each precinct is about 2.5 cubic feet. So we're talking over 50 boxes were filled and emptied and properly disposed of
medications.
on Staten Island.
A lot of
So that's the
painkillers.
drop box. Yeah, painkillers, but predominantly that's what we were going for. But we moved in from that to say, all right, educational piece, we have our kids. So she's going to talk a little more about that. But the Too Good for Drugs program is a unique program in many senses because it puts a police officer in the classroom co-teaching with a teacher, right? But unlike prior programs, which I am not going to knock, it was an attempt, it was a good attempt. I think this program, in one sense, is very good because these officers are patrol officers or NCOs from that neighborhood that patrol that area. So
Build a relationship.
To build a relationship. So there goes the community affairs aspect.
Awesome.
But you're seeing these kids, you're getting to know them in a classroom setting, and now you're going to see them on the street. I mean, we've had situations where cops were called to a bike being stolen, right? The officers get there, right? And the kid sees the officer and says, "Officer so-and-so, hey, how you doing?" The kid forgot that his bike was stolen and was just so excited to introduce the officer to the parents. So now there's
There's a connection.
a connection. And
That's
the
awesome.
other connection now with that whole family is that family knows that officer because the child, the 5th grader, comes home and talks about their experience with Officer SanFilippo, and they know someone in the 122 precinct, for an example.
Exactly.
So the whole family could come in and ask for Officer SanFilippo.
Yeah.
Can you help us with this situation? So it's not just about drugs, it's building community relations.
Absolutely.
I think it's an amazing program. She's going to talk a little more about her experience and the expansion. We have a new pilot that's hitting high schools and middle schools. It's been a huge success. If I may, since I'm talking on a borough level, every single 5th grade class, almost, I'm going to say almost because I think we've missed very few parochial, but every single 5th grader on Staten Island received the Too Good for Drugs program.
Awesome.
10 lessons with an officer and a teacher to discuss good decision-making and things of that nature. So I'm gonna turn to that. I think it's an amazing program, and there is a few other programs I would want to
Knowledge
get
and
into again.
information are very, very
Very
important in every area of life, actually. You know?
So if you look at it, we have a 5th grader now who's, 10, 11 years old? What we're noticing 3, 4, 5 years from now is when some of these children are experimenting either with pills or with other drugs.
Right.
So
now they
you're
have a
getting
different
them.
perspective too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So with the 5th grade, it's an important grade because what you have is when the IS schools are there, you have many PS schools feeding into an IS school. So your child will be the senior of their grammar school with the little ones. Now they're going to be going into to be the youngest again in a big group with a lot more schools and a lot more different personalities to meet, which is a great experience, and it's a daunting one too. So now you're going to have little ones in there with older ones, and maybe the older ones have been exposed to things that the little ones haven't. So we like to say, you know how we wear a tool belt? we give them as many tools as we can so that then hopefully when things happen to them, they'll be able to make the decision. It is a very big jump going from a PS school to an IS school in general, age-wise and size-wise. So with the program, there are conversations that we have with them that are not drugs. In fact, the drug aspect of it is really at the end, and that's not the forefront of it. It's about really making good decisions, and when things don't go your way, tools that you can do to cope with things better than automatically going to something, which is a tool that adults can use as well too. You're not always gonna get 100 on your math test. Things aren't gonna go your way. And we try to explain to the kids that if you think that only children have problems, adults have too. But in the world of young minds, little things are the end of the world to them. And so we wanna be able to give them some tools other than going to that to solve your problems.
Yeah.
So we've gone to PTA meetings, and again, we have a lot of parents that come and a lot of parents that don't come because it's not my child and that's not going to happen, and my child is young. But those are conversations that you can have with young children. I mean, you're not going to speak to a 5-year-old about, a heroin needle, but you're going to speak to a 5-year-old about medication and the proper way you take it and dosing, and don't take anything from a stranger. So those are conversations that you can have with your children, young,
So they're age appropriate.
and it snowballs into it, and really about making good decisions and
Right.
consequences. We all make mistakes. There's a consequence for your mistakes, and you move forward.
Peer pressure.
And peer pressure.
It opens up the conversation.
It
at
opens
home.
up all that, because really and is that the only reason? We don't know. So we're trying to hit it from every angle, that hopefully when you come across that situation, and unfortunately today, it's not if you, it is you're going to. And that's the issue. And even with the 5th graders, you'd be surprised at a lot of the things that they know that you wouldn't think that they've already been exposed to. And they're happy to speak with us.
Yeah.
I think they think it's a lot of fun to see a police officer there. We're kind of real life there to touch. And they speak to us. And we talk. We don't talk down to them. We talk with them and have a conversation. And it's much different than the teacher giving them a lesson, because we're having a conversation with them. It's not a subject, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So now the program is expanding for this year to 7th graders and 9th graders, which are every year is a crucial year. So with the 9th graders, they're starting high school again, from many IS schools feeding into a high school, which is also big, and older children and older experiences. And we're trying also to have them, we do a little bit of role playing to kind of make them change places with us, so they could be the police officer for that moment, and we'd be on the other side, and kind of see how the perspective would be if you were in our shoes. How do you think it would be?
Yeah.
And again, the conversations we speak to them, real conversations, they're 14 and 15. They're not babies. So we speak to them as adults, and I think that they definitely appreciate that. And so the conversation flows a lot nicer, because it's not a lecture. It's an actual conversation with police officers about real issues. And again, the conversations are deep. They're really informative, and we're learning a lot from them too, as to they know a lot more, and we tell them, we know you know. And I think that they appreciate that too,
I
that
think
they're
that
not
is-
being spoken to like,
It is so awesome.
It's
to
fun. It's a lot of
See how
fun.
the NYPD is so engaged,
yeah.
within the younger generation, in that sense of educating them and stuff like that. It's very important.
If I may, this is nothing new. I mean, we're using this right now, bringing officers to talk about the problem we have on Staten Island and the drugs, but we've always had youth programs. There's one program I want to talk about in particular, which if you have a teenager that is hanging out, or that can't find anything to do, we have a program, almost like the Boy Scouts, the Explorer program. We're actually always actively recruiting. So I almost want to say to the camera, right to the people, is if you have a 14 to 20-year-old child, bring them into a precinct, have them join the Explorer program. They get uniforms, they learn drills, and they have a good role model. Walk into any precinct, ask for your Explorer coordinator. So there's many programs that most people don't really know about with kids. We have the PAL, we have the basketball, we have the YPA. And in the YPA, the youth academy in the summer, there's a lot of discussions about drugs and about things like that. So I think get your children involved And I think the children could be a way to discuss things with the parents and educate the parents too.
Yeah. I tell you, you know, having the NYPD with us today is a tremendous, informative, educating episode that we have here at Heroes of Hope. But there is so much more that goes on that they take care of. And I really want to encourage you to tune in to all the other episodes with Heroes of Hope, but I want to encourage you to go out and meet with your community affairs officers. You know, they're available to you. They want to spend time with you. They want to get to know you within that community, and they want to address any issue with you that you may have. Today, we've been able to have them, and I quickly just want to give them an opportunity, if not, because of the sake of time, maybe one of you, to be able to just give the viewers a word of encouragement in the sense of what can they do now in with all this information that they have, and just to give them a word of hope or something to that effect.
I'm going to give it to Luis.
And the lieutenant passes it on.
I just think you have to speak with your children. I think you have to have those conversations early. I think the old mindset of don't do as I say, not as I do, that they're watching us, they're watching the examples, and there are so many resources on Staten Island that you can reach out to, your churches, your groups. You have to keep your kids occupied. That may not be the whole solution, but we have to start them as young as we can, because unfortunately it's not going to be if they're exposed to it, it's going to be when, because we know it's inevitable that they're going to be. And so together, we hope we can make a difference.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here on Heroes of Hope, and I just want to thank Lieutenant for being with us and Officer Luis to be with us, because they are tremendous, and everything that's happening here in Staten Island has been because we're working together, and so that alone should give you hope and encouragement to know that we're setting the pace for everybody in reference to being heroes of hope and working together. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us. I greatly appreciate you spending time with us and taking time out from your busy schedule. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.